Way of Superior Man. Now I'm covering this one first because it is one of the first books I read. It's actually the second book I read after Meditations by Marcus Aurelius. Now, reason I picked up this book is because my biggest pain point when I first started my self-development journey was woman. It is a pain that drive me to change my life, and it was a topic I was very uneducated in. Now I actually take that back. I did read Rational Male before this book. It was Rational Male, Meditations, and then this book. Now, Rational Male is a great book, and I recommend every single man read it. However, it's a different style of book. This book in particular talks about how to build a strong, loving connection with a woman in a monogamous relationship while also dealing with purpose and sexual desire, including desire for variety. Now, Rational Male, on the other hand, which is over here, talks about the uncomfortable truths of female human nature, which usually are not viewed from a spiritual sense. Biological truths are usually harsh because they are not moral truths. They are not truths that are good for everyone. They are brutal truths that what everything your mother told you about women is completely wrong. It's important to understand these things, but a lot of people in life want to go beyond hookup culture, go beyond the emptiness of casual sex, which is what happens when you follow your biological desire. And this is where this book comes in. Now let's get into what I actually learned in this book and why I think every single man needs to read this. What this entire book is based off of is masculine and feminine energy, right? This is what attraction is built off of. Both men and women have both aspects, both masculine, both feminine within them. However, there usually tends to be a stronger one, right? A core essence. Men tend to have more of a core masculine energy, where women tend to have a core feminine energy. Now, why I love this so much is because relationships between men and women can be very complicated. Everyone's different. Different advice applies to different people. And so you want to find the core truth, right? And you could start by saying, what is the relationship built off of? Why are men and women even together? What causes that sexual attraction? And what that sexual attraction is polarity, right? Polarity between the feminine and the masculine. Now, if you can identify these energies in your own life, you can then identify them in the relationship and see how to build that polarity, right? Some people are going to be incompatible. Now, for example, a strongly masculine man usually doesn't want a strongly masculine woman, right? The polarity isn't going to be there. The sexual attraction is going to be there. They can be friends, right? But if there is no polarity, there is no sexual attraction. And this book is written through the lens of a masculine man who is leading a feminine relationship. However, the principles apply in any dynamic. Even if you're gay or bisexual, even in those relationships, there's usually a top and a bottom, right? A masculine and feminine partner, or a masculine woman and a feminine man. Now, in my own life in this time, I wasn't in a relationship. I was currently healing from a past relationship. But the biggest benefit from reading this, honestly, was the clarity. I applied everything he said to my past relationships. I mentally applied it, and everything made sense, right? It added up so perfectly. Why the woman reacted this way when I did this. Why the relationship was going well at certain times and not going well at others. I kind of felt like an idiot while reading it because it pointed out every single mistake I was reading and made a lot of sense. But what that allowed me to do is get closure there, right? Have the confidence now that I have this wisdom, and then moving forward into my next relationship, I was able to lead from a conscious point of view and see these dynamics at a level where I can diagnose what the problem is and act accordingly, create that polarity. So that is the basis of the book. That is the premise. Now, the book is set into dozens and dozens of chapters. Let's see here. There are 51 chapters in this book with 195 pages, so on average about 4 pages a chapter, which makes it extremely easy to read, extremely digestible, great for a beginner. It is separated into 8 parts with about 9 chapters in each, and so I'm going to give you the main takeaways of each part. Part 1 is a man's way, and it talks about a way a man should set up his own life, not getting too much into how to deal with women and how to create polarity, more how to create your own internal growth and live a strong masculine life. The biggest takeaways here, and again, this is from the masculine perspective, is that your purpose comes first. Comes before your relationship. And whether you or the woman knows it or not, this is what the woman wants, right? She does not want to come before your purpose. No matter what she says, which one of the chapters is women are liars and they don't always say what they mean or what they actually want. But the reason this is a man who puts his purpose first is a man who is capable of loving more. The masculine essence, the masculine imperative is to fulfill his purpose, his calling. Right? Now, if you are not fulfilling this, you will not be able to live your fullest truth. And if you cannot live your fullest truth, you cannot be fully present and be the superior man for your woman. Now, a woman's biology is also designed to be more attracted to a man when she is not put on a pedestal. It doesn't mean you don't love her, doesn't mean you don't treat her great, treat her the best you possibly can. But when she is with a man who puts his purpose first and is purpose driven, she is able to fulfill her deepest feminine desire, which is helping the man along that journey by nurturing him and bringing him peace. When this dynamic is had with a masculine man and a feminine woman, both filling their roles in that way, that is when both parties feel great. It almost feels like effortless for both partners, which isn't always going to be the case, but it's close as you can get to it. Now, the reason men don't do this naturally is because this is not what we want, right? Masculine men don't want women putting their purpose before them. Masculine men want a woman whose purpose is to nurture the relationship, nurture the children, and a woman who feels fully at peace in that role while he is doing his role. And so if we apply this desire and think this is what the woman wants, it ends up creating a clash. It ends up killing polarity. Now, in my most recent relationship, I applied this and it went beautifully. When I was my most purpose-driven, she was her most feminine, most nurturing. I was most attracted to her. She was most attracted to me. And when this dynamic was the case, I was able to act more superior in my purpose and in the relationship. Now, that being said, a majority of men don't have a clear purpose, which was a huge point in this book. The author was like, you need to have a purpose, you need to follow it, this is what you need to be living your life through. Now, the one caveat I think the author didn't cover is that, how do you find this purpose? It doesn't just come along. I'm very blessed to have the most purposeful business career I could ask for. I have purpose 24/7. I would rather be doing nothing else. That being said, in the first 3 years of my self-development, I did not have purpose. And after reading this chapter and just knowing that purpose was very important, it was probably the biggest thing clouding my mind, which is the fact that, where's my purpose? Where's my purpose, right? As I was curing my insecurities, as I was getting confidence, doing martial arts, doing the method, right? This was always in the back of my mind. Now, little did I know, this whole time doing the method, right? Curing my insecurities, gaining full confidence, wisdom, and strength was my purpose, right? Now, when my purpose actually came along, which is guiding the men along the path of full confidence and fulfillment, right? I was able to execute. I would not have been able to execute if I did not do those things. And so for you, if you're watching this and you have a crystal clear purpose where you're able to wake up every day and feel super fulfilled, great, right? Most people don't have that. So what I would say is, you have something in your life that you feel like is holding you back as a man. Whether that's better communication skills, better confidence, more wisdom, more knowledge, more discipline, right? And you can get more nuance based on the situation. That is your purpose, brother, right? You have to be able to put on your own mask first before you can put on someone else's. And so I wouldn't stress as much about finding a purpose. It happens from becoming the greatest version of yourself, solving your own problems in life, and then you see different ways where you can take that and apply it to helping other people. That is purpose, right? And last aspect of the chapter, which ties right into that, right into growth, right into becoming the greatest version of yourself, is going to be lean beyond your edge. I made a whole YouTube video on this, one of my favorites. Leaning beyond your edge basically means pushing yourself beyond fear. Our edge, you can imagine, is a line where everything beyond it is fear and discomfort. Anything under it is comfort and the known, right? Things you're comfortable doing. Now, in order to grow as a man, inevitably you're gonna have to do things you've never done before, do things that are uncomfortable. That is growth. And what is required to do that is leaning just beyond your edge. Now, this is an actual art, and you have to find your edge first. The way you find your edge is what scares you, right? What scares you but feels like it's just beyond your grasp? Something you've been thinking about, something you've been procrastinating about, starting martial arts, starting a business, pushing yourself in the dating world a little bit more, creating some content, whatever that may be. It will feel like, I can do this, but I'm afraid, right? And the more you can get comfortable with that, and the more you can realize, hey, beyond that edge is everything I want, I need to constantly be leaning just beyond it, is where you'll find growth. I genuinely recommend watching that video. It's one of my best. I think it's very good, and I've applied it all 3 years of my self-development, and I will apply it for the rest of my life, right? You have to lean beyond your edge. Now, part number 2 is called dealing with women. Feminine energy is much more emotional than masculine energy. Masculine energy tends to be logical. Feminine energy is much more how you feel your emotions, right? This is not a bad thing. This is why masculine men love women. That ability to tap into emotion is the most beautiful and refreshing thing about them. However, if you think your woman thinks the way you think and you treat them with logic, it will be met with clash. No polarity. We don't think the same ways. And so what you must do as a superior man is use your logic to understand the way she works. Understand how to deal and dance with her emotion. Now, the main takeaways with this chapter is that not everything that comes out of a woman's mouth is what she wants. Now, this can be very frustrating if you treat it that way. For example, I know a lot of you guys can relate. Your woman gets mad about something. You feel like it's not something she should really be mad about, and you try to tell her with logic why she shouldn't be mad, right? This usually doesn't end well. You know, eventually it will fade, but you using logic usually doesn't fix the problem and lead her to feeling more safe and attracted to you. What does is helping her feel emotionally safe with your strength. When a woman has an emotional problem, right, it is not met with logic. It is met with comfort. What she needs in that moment is not you to tell her why she shouldn't have it, right? It's for her to feel safe with you. It's for her to feel like she has a man who she can emotionally reside in energetically. Now, the common response to a woman spiraling for a reason you don't think is justified will be to tell her that she's wrong for that and why she shouldn't be that way. The correct response would be being a source of security and strength where she can pour her emotion into, where she can have those negative emotions and go through them with you making her feel safe and grounded, right? This often doesn't come with words. This comes with you having your own internal strength. And so say your woman says something about some past partner that ends up getting brought up for no reason. It shouldn't have gotten brought up, right? There was no benefit to that happening. However, it happened, right? And now she's emotionally spiraling. You're telling her why she shouldn't feel that way. She's spiraling deeper and deeper and deeper. versus you reassuring her that no matter what happened in the past, you're here now with a nice, low, controlled tone, bringing in your arms and saying, it's okay, I understand how you feel, giving her a kiss, right? Letting her speak and just absorbing. Now, this doesn't mean absorbing bullshit. This means allowing her to feel safe with you, which in turn reassures her that she is with a strong masculine man. Now, this also goes into shit tests, which is in part 2 of this book. And if you haven't heard of shit tests, congratulations, you're learning them now, which is extremely important. What a shit test is basically what your woman will do, usually subconsciously, to test your strength and reassure that you are a strong, superior man. When a woman chooses you, she has the option to choose any other man, but she is choosing you. I'm going to put my future, I'm going to put my kids, I'm going to put my trust and my life in your hands, right? And if she is not 100% sure that she made the right decision, her biology and her subconscious is going to force her to say, you better make sure this guy is the one. And the way they do this, which is actually a powerful survival mechanism, is a shit test. She will put unnecessary conflict between you that requires a response from you, and based on your response, she will either be reinforced that she is with a strong masculine man, or she will be reinforced that she is not. Now, hundreds if not dozens of years ago, there probably wasn't even a word shit test. And so how did men handle these shit tests if they did not realize this was a survival mechanism, right? It's because the things women shit test for were things that strong, masculine, capable men naturally have. In the tribe or the community you were with, it would be very clear what men were the strongest, the leaders, the most capable, the most calm under pressure, and so they didn't need this reassurance. And so every time a woman shit tests an inherently strong masculine man, he passes. He doesn't even have to know these principles. And women also used to be much more reassured with their choice because they did not have as many choices. Now, with the uprising of social media and weak men, women are a lot less reassured. They can see men online who are in the top 1%, who have all the greatest traits, have the charisma, the looks, the status, the finances, the pre-selection. And her hypergamy sets in and realizes, hey, there are better men out there. I better make sure mine is good enough, right? And you combat that with the majority of men not having these strong masculine qualities, which leads to more shit tests and less natural ability to handle them correctly. And then you see the uprising of feminism, which is, I don't need a man to lead me, I can lead myself. And it's not even women's fault a lot of the time because most women can't find a man who would lead them. But this ends up leading a lot of women who could find a strong masculine man and live their most fulfilling feminine life and choosing feminism and masculinizing themselves and completely eliminating this opportunity. Right, now getting back to the point of shit tests, as men, we need to consciously understand these things because the shit tests are going to be stronger than ever, right? Even if you have the capability and you have all the characteristics that respond correctly, if you don't understand the survival mechanism and why these shit tests happen, there will still be times you will respond incorrectly because you don't realize what it is. In addition, you might resent your woman for shit testing you, right? If a shit test goes bad and you fail, she is going to not be very attracted and not be very feminine and not be very positive, which is going to be bad for the relationship. But now with the ability to clearly understand and identify the shit test combined with the strength and the ability to have non-reactivity and react correctly, I enjoy shit tests. They become an opportunity to strengthen the relationship and strengthen the woman's trust in you. With that being said, let's get into the next one, which is working with polarity and energy. Now, this is more focused towards a man understanding his own masculine energy and how to go out in the world and get the most out of the feminine energy. And so as a man, you have to identify your own desires and your own energy, right? If you are a strongly masculine man, you can identify this by extremely ambitious, extremely purpose-driven, and then the woman you like, the woman that you're just naturally more attracted to, tend to be more feminine, which is much more soft and nurturing. Now, I assume if you're watching this, you're likely a much more masculine man. Based off this, you have to choose a woman who is your complementary opposite. So the more masculine you are, the better you're gonna do with a more feminine woman. Some men have more of a balance of feminine and masculine energy, and some women also have more of a balance. Those people are probably gonna do better with each other, the people who have more of a balance, because more polarity is going to be able to be created. What you should not do as a masculine man is try to be with a woman who doesn't fill that opposite. If you are a very logical, very purpose-driven man, you want a woman who is the opposite. You want an emotional woman. This is what's going to cause polarity, attraction, and success in a relationship, right? And then throughout the relationship, you also have to maintain this polarity. If one of you are leading to the opposite side, say your woman is starting to become masculinized and you're maybe starting to become feminized, you will realize that polarity is not there anymore and you have to consciously try to stop this. For example, as a man, do some fucking martial arts, right? If you feel like you are becoming feminized, that's a simple thing you could do. Go harder in the gym. Spend more time working on your purpose. If your woman is starting to become masculinized, make sure you are guiding her to focus more on her spiritual health, right? Focus more on tuning in with her emotions. Make sure you are as strongly masculine as possible so you allow her to do that as well, right? Some things I would like to recommend yoga, recommend meditation, recommend journaling, right? Always remind them to take a deep breath, tell them you're there for them, right? You are the one who controls the tempo. And last point I want to cover in this chapter is that you will desire other women. It's natural, it's part of our biology. Don't try to deny it, but don't let it fuck you. This is one of the most destructive things to so many men's life, including successful men. A lot of times you see empires destroyed because of this desire, right? However, if used correctly, it can actually be a benefit to you. Women provide this beautiful, revitalizing energy, and because we biologically evolved to want more than one woman, it's part of our nature, we can use this to our advantage, right? If you suppress this desire, deny it, you will realize it doesn't work, and you will also probably realize you end up lusting even more, right? If you can confront this desire, see it fully, and then allow your desire to go from lust to a pure energetic appreciation for this beauty, it can energize you, right? For example, you see a beautiful woman out, right? Instead of telling yourself, oh, she's not pretty, my girlfriend's the only girl that's pretty, which is not true and you cannot suppress, which will eventually lead you to feeling bad for thinking she's beautiful. And instead of mentally lusting and thinking about all the positions you put her in and thinking about her being naked, which is going to negatively affect your energy and lower your vibration, see it for what it is, right? See it for the natural, youthful, beautiful energy that women have and breathe it in. This is literally what the author says, and I do it to this day. Like, take a deep breath. Don't think about the physical, right? Think about the energy and the beauty. Take a deep breath, go about your day. Do not deny that's in your nature, but also do not act on it physically. Of course, if you're committed to a monogamous partner, you end up cheating, it will destroy her life, it might destroy your life, and you will never be fulfilled from it. Part number 4, what women really want. I'd say personally this is the most important chapter when it comes to success in dating and building relationships. The overall theme of this is understanding what actually makes a woman attracted to you, and the 2 core concepts that this cover chapter is going to be, number 1, not showing or having neediness, and number 2, how to get your woman to truly respect and relax into you. So neediness is probably the biggest turnoff for women. When you look at the core of what causes biological attraction for a woman, it is offspring, right? Do I want my kids to be like him? And everything else stems out from this. Now, this doesn't mean that women are actively thinking this. Women don't actually filter their feelings through this truth. It's just where these feelings come from. If you're acting in a way that makes her biology say, yes, I want my kids to be like him, her attraction will be extremely high. Now, when does her biology tell her if she wants your children? And this actually isn't talked about in this book, but it's one of the most important principles to understand. Number 1 is going to be pre-selection. Do other women want this man? If a man shows signs of other women wanting him, especially sexually, tick flicks in her brain saying there's something about him that other women want, so he is probably a good partner, right? They can't even help it. Now, the opposite of this and the way to not show this is going to be neediness, right? If you are a needy man, number 1, you probably don't have abundance and have pre-selection and have other options. And number 2, even if you do, it will trigger her brain and tell her that you don't. In turn, you aren't going to be a good selection to have her children. Now, neediness is going to come when you do not feel in control of the relationship. And a huge way this happens is if she doesn't have extremely high interest, right? If she does not have extremely high interest, you are going to have to work for it back. It's going to be very difficult to avoid signs of neediness, and it's going to be a waste of your time. The relationship is not going to be polar. You're going to have to do way more work, which in turn is going to show neediness, and so you should just cut it off there. The only reason a woman would be with you if she does not have extremely high interest is financial support, right? Maybe emotional support, maybe she's just bored, or maybe she say, maybe I'll give him a shot, right? You don't want any of those things, brother. You don't. On the other hand, when her interest is extremely high, ideally higher than yours, you are able to naturally exude those qualities and those traits that trigger her brain and say, I want his children, which is abundance, which is confidence, and which is putting your purpose first, which is another chapter in this part. I want to reinstill the point that if you put her first, she knows you are not giving your fullest gift to the world. She knows you're sacrificing your deepest truth, right, and your deepest masculine desire to be with her. In turn, number 1, showing neediness, and number 2, showing her that you're not dedicated to the life you were meant to live, right, which will eliminate attraction. And even if she tells you otherwise, and sometimes she wills, this is not true, right? Another chapter in this book is what she wants is not what she says. Ideally for a woman, she is able to be in her fully emotional, non-logical, feminine state. And when she's in this state, she will say things that might not be logical. Now, this is okay because if you have that strong dynamic between you two, you are able to lead the relationship, make logical decisions, and she can trust you in them. And so because of this, women will sometimes say things that shit test you, right, that are for the purpose of seeing you're weak or not, and sometimes say things that go against your truth, going against what you know is right for yourself and your relationship. This is not a bad thing. This is not a bad woman, and it's going to be inevitable with a feminine woman, right? Now, every time she does this and you stick with your truth, you are reinforcing that you are that strong masculine man, and she's able to relax even more into your presence. And she stays in her feminine state, you stay in your masculine state. Polarity is great. And the book actually uses a really interesting example in this where there's two partners who are practicing tantric sex and semen retention. They've made a lot of strides in the relationship, and the woman gets extremely horny and says, pull over in the park, you know, I want to make love right here. This is a breakthrough for their relationship, right? They haven't experienced this desire before, and he is practicing semen retention, right, very strongly, and she knows this, right? And while they are having intercourse, she tells him, please, you know, break the streak, right? That's what she wants. She would be so happy for that. He's like, no, I shouldn't. And she's like, yes, please, I'm telling you, that would make me so happy. He does. Afterwards, she's so turned off. She loses respect for him. She's not even thankful for it. And in this vulnerable state where she probably wasn't even thinking, she was just expressing the fact that she probably wants to feel his strength. And by saying this, he has an opportunity to show so much strength to know that he will live his truth despite what she says, right? And he failed. Now you have to be strong, disciplined, and masculine in every area of your life in order to actually fulfill this. In addition, there's a chapter in this part called Her Complaint is Content Free, right? You cannot take her complaint literally. Women will say how they feel in the moment. Their words will be filtered with their emotions. In my past relationship, there has been times where my woman is in a very negative state and it's heated between us, and she will say things that are so out of pocket. Sometimes about me, sometimes about my character, but because I'm so assured in myself and I understand that complaint, it's not what actually she means. She just feels this negative way and all her words are filtered through it, right? I'm able to not react, not respond incorrectly, diffuse a situation. Afterwards, they're always like, I don't know why I said that. I completely don't mean it. And it's true, right? It is true. You have to be able to see past the emotion, right? Never take what she says literally. Always understand that it is your responsibility to understand the situation logically, understand where she's coming from and how her emotions are affecting what she's saying, and make decisions without emotion on your end. Now, part number 4, we have your dark side. Now, there's only 4 chapters in here, and a couple of these chapters ended up being pretty philosophical to me, made me think pretty deeply. First of which, and the first chapter in this part, is going to be, you are always searching for freedom. Now, what the author argues is that masculine energy and the masculine essence is in constant search for freedom, right? Freedom from purpose, freedom from sexual desire, freedom from stress, right? An end point, a release. And this one honestly made most sense to me when thinking of orgasm. When you orgasm, it is a release of not only physical sperm, but of also your sexual energy and desire, right? And after this, we feel asleep, we feel relaxed, we don't have that same drive. Now, this release feels good in the moment, but overall it doesn't push us towards our goals, right? We kind of need that drive, that sexual desire to transmute into success. Now, with this freedom from constraint, what is the solution, and is a solution even necessary? Well, the author argues that being fully present in the moment, aka enlightenment, is freedom. And I think that there is a spectrum for how close you can get to that. The more you desire something and the further you are from achieving it, right, the more constraint and the less freedom you feel, whether that's financial, sexual, confidence-wise, right? However, that desire is also what gets you there, right? And so this is why this chapter I don't think as practical and more philosophical, to kind of look deeper into what our soul wants. Is the soul what wants the freedom, but the ego is the thing that's also always chasing, always wants more, right? Who knows? He also argues that the feminine is the opposite, right? They want fullness. They want to be filled with love while we are in search of release, right? Interesting concept. Go ahead and think about it. I don't know the practicality of it really, but that's my thought on that. Also, another chapter, she wants your dark side, which this is 100% true. He's referring to your full primal desire, and he specifically is talking about in bed, but this also translates to other things. And this is true, right? Women, especially feminine women, want to be dominated in bed, right? And dominated does not mean abused, does not mean hurt. It means controlled. And be submitted to a fully dominant man, right? This is what deep down the masculine essence wants, and also what the feminine essence wants. And so it took me a while to learn this. I actually learned this through the Sex God method. And once I internalized this and put it to action, it is 100% true, right? It takes a level of confidence and understanding, but I can assure you, your woman is feminine. She wants you to take full control in the bedroom and the relationship. That's where she can be her most feminine self. Last chapter I want to hit is going to be she needs your consciousness to match her energy. And first time I'm reading directly from the book, just because this paragraph right here, I remember the first time I read it and I was like, it's true. As you probably know, your woman is capable of being a witch, a sex slave, an Amazon, a goddess of light, a nurturing mother, a demoness, a luscious lover, a wise teacher, a wild animal, and everything in between. As a general rule, she will keep returning to energy that you cannot match. Facts, right? Woman, especially when she's in her most feminine state, has access to all of these things. And you know this when you are with a woman and you see the way they act out in public, or even just with you when you're not in the bedroom. And then in the bedroom, it's a completely different thing. They'll say things you would never believe they'd say. You could say things you never believe they would want you to say. This also goes with every area of life. Women are so volatile in their emotions. And when I say women, I'm talking about feminine energy. right? So this can be man too. I'm talking specifically feminine energy. You know, I want to make that clear. Not all women are like this. It's not a bad thing. Personally, I prefer a feminine woman in my relationship, and that's what I'm talking about. And when the author says that they will match what you cannot meet, I looked at my own life, look at my own relationships in this, and I kind of agree. What the author means by this is if there is something that you are not fulfilling, say you've been very incapable of lowering your cortisol and being present and being relaxed, right? Your woman will specifically test you in this area, says the author, and she will naturally try to match the energy you can't meet. Now, I don't 100% agree totally. I think there's aspects in this that are true, but I would say in a relationship, sometimes there will be times where a man is lacking in some area. I believe there's also going to be some times where the woman is going to have to meet you in the middle for that time being. As much as we want to always be the most superior man, have everything completely in control, right, and we can get close to that point, there are going to be times where we're just not capable. Going to need to maybe lean on our woman a little bit for emotional support. Who knows? I don't think she's always going to try to match the energy you cannot meet. I think this is more an opportunity for her to test and try to get you competence and fulfillment in an area that you might have been lacking, right? But if you're completely lacking strength in that area and your woman's bogging you down, you know, sometimes I think relationships won't work that way. So also, you know, don't know how practical the idea of she will always match the energy you can meet, but I do agree that they do have access to all of those things, and it's important to understand that. One point I did kind of miss out on in this chapter is that she wants the killer in you. And I also think the author did not get to do a great job of using a cockroach and not being able to kill it as an example, but he also expanded and say, just to explain that she wants you to be capable of these things, right? Martial arts, being capable physically, right, including size and ability to fight, is a huge turn on for women. You don't ever have to use it or prove it, but if she knows you're capable of controlling it as well and only using it when needed, that is just an absolute massive turn on. I mean, you can understand why biologically women evolved that way. The men who were able to protect them and physically capable ended up being the leaders, ended up being the highest status, having the most women, passing on their genetics, right? That's a simple one, guys. If you are struggling with confidence, dating, etc., the best thing you could do is just focus on getting good at a martial art for a little bit. It'll make you so much more competent, so much more disciplined, respect yourself. It'll give you an underlying sense of security and confidence that you didn't realize you were missing. All of the above are great. You just gotta show up to a first class, look up gyms in your area, look on the website, see if there's a free trial, right? Go try it out. I promise you'll be okay. Be a man, go do it. All right, next two I'm gonna kind of bundle together. It's gonna be feminine attractiveness and body practices. And this is why I love this book so much, is because it ties in all aspects of sexual desire, purpose, feminine attraction into one, right? And so the first one, the feminine attractiveness, I already covered this a good amount, explaining how you want to really use that feminine abundance, the feminine is everywhere, and fill yourself with it, right? As a masculine man, if you are empty from that, you are going to be closed off, you're not going to be fulfilled, you're not going to be able to fulfill your purpose as good if you're missing that feminine energy. Now, you do not want to turn it into lust, right? You want to turn it into pure energy. At the same time, this is where sexual transmutation comes in. Sexual transmutation is basically turning that extremely powerful sexual desire and sexual energy within us into purpose, into building things that actually give you fulfillment instead of leave you empty after, like lust. Right? Now I'm gonna get right into the body practices. Now the author actually talks about semen retention and Qigong practices, which I teach directly inside the method. Qigong is basically energy control, and semen retention is not just nofap, it is having full control over when you ejaculate, right? You can ejaculate once a week, you can ejaculate, every day if you want, but it is a conscious choice. You're able to use your sexual desire to your advantage. Now the author breaks down very beautifully how having the sexual control creates strong attraction with your woman, right? If your woman knows you are able to have discipline and control over your deepest, strongest desires, she will have the utmost respect for you. On the other hand, if you do not, the fact that it is your strongest desire that you do not have control of, she knows she can't trust you. If you do not have full control and mastery over your sexual urges in the relationship, in the bedroom, how can she trust you outside of it? She doesn't know if you're gonna cheat or not. She doesn't know if you're lusting and fantasizing all the time, which is disgusting to women, and they can actually usually tell. And she will also be able to control you, right? And this is very, very important. You need to come from a place of abundance in all areas, and if you don't come from a place of abundance and sexual control, she will be able to control you with sex. You will have a scarcity mindset, you will come off needy, and the polarity will be gone. You won't be able to be fully masculine, and she won't be able to be fully feminine. Now, when I say control, I don't mean suppress, right? I mean learn these techniques, including Qigong, to learn how to take that energy and guide it through your body, right? Because there's only so much discipline and suppression can do for you, because that energy has to come out at some point. And that's what ejaculation is. It's a releasing of that energy, which is why you feel a little lazy, but you can almost feel tangibly that energy leave your body. And that's why if people start semen retention and don't transmute it into physical activity, into purpose, into difficult things, right? They end up feeling more anxious because that energy becomes stuck. Now, with this being said, the author gives some tips on during sex how to do this Qigong. And I actually recommend Qigong all throughout the day, all throughout your life, whenever you're feeling anxious or any emotion. You take your energy and breathe it through your body, right? All that anxiety and depression, whatever it is, usually is up here, right? You're in your mind. When you're able to ground yourself in your body and be present, it goes away. And this is great for dating, this is great for sex, this is great for confidence. Now, specifically speaking in sex, during sex, you want to breathe deeply. Naturally, you go into this sympathetic state. This is a fight or flight state. This is where arousal happens. You get really fast breaths. You're not in a relaxed state. You're not in an energetic state. You're in a fight or flight state, which is, let's reach ejaculation, which is why premature ejaculation is the #1 sexual dysfunction in men, affecting a majority of them. Now, by breathing deeply, you're not only prolonging your ability to last, but you are grounding yourself, right? And women feel that energy. Not only will you be more capable of guiding your woman, but she will feel the fact that you're grounded, right? And so Qigong is a process to teach. Essentially, you're breathing the energy, inhale down the front of the body, exhale through the back. But if you don't have practice with that yet, you can just take deep breaths and let your energy drop down, right? Release your pelvic floor, the area around your genitals, right? Relax it, take a deep inhale, and take an even deeper exhale. Do this during sex. Do this throughout your entire day, and this will ground you. And in order to be a strong, masculine, superior man, you need to be grounded. This is why the only times I would really like smoking weed would be during sex, because it allows you just to tap into that fully energetic state and no thinking is required. You don't want to be thinking, but you can't think your way out of thinking. You can't say, oh, I don't want to think, it's just gonna make you think more. That's why you need these body practices and that deep breath to ground you and just flow with the energetic state. And if you have good polarity with a woman, you will organically and naturally fill that masculine role. And because of that, she will fill the feminine one, and it will be a beautiful spiritual bonding experience. Plan on coming out with more videos on sexual mastery. I have one on premature ejaculation right now, but definitely more to come. Last part, summing it all up, man and woman's yoga of intimacy. Now here, the author really tries to send us off with practical use cases for everything we learned here. Essentially, to sum it up, as a man, you are responsible for the growth of the relationship. You are responsible for setting the tone, right? For leading the woman, for being the one who knows these things and who is strong and capable. That being said, I do highly recommend if you're in a relationship, having your woman read Dear Lover, the counterpart to this. It will help her keep her heart open and allow you to lead the relationship as long as you're capable. Now, that being said, it is very important that your woman is also doing her part, right? Her part is keeping her heart open. Of course, you set the tone, but there's also work that has to be done on her end, right? She should be doing things like seeing her friends, doing hobbies. She works, that's fine. Like, women in careers, I don't think it's a terrible thing as long as it's not closing their heart, right? But that is her responsibility. Now, if you have a woman, despite feeling like you are following all these principles, being a strong masculine leader, right, and she still is not receptive, you guys are probably not a good match, and she may not be capable of it, right? She may be more on the masculine end. However, as you evolve as a man, you will have access to higher and higher quality of women and pretty much any choice you want, right? If you become top 5% of man in confidence, status, strength, character, all of these things, right, you will be able to select any woman you want. You'll be able to find the most feminine, beautiful woman you desire. Now, getting a lot off track here, I want to finish the points the author made. The author highly recommends being around other men, which I 1000% agree. Now, he's looking at the terms of relationship, right? It's important for you to be around other men so your relationship succeeds. He also has a full chapter, actually, how you shouldn't be with your woman at all times. This kills polarity completely. There needs to be some separation. She needs to miss you somewhat in order for polarity to be at its best. Now, that doesn't mean you can't have a relationship if you guys are with each other all the time. That being said, when you don't see your partner for a little while, the polarity usually ends up being way stronger. So if you both work from home, that definitely means you should figure out ways where you don't cross each other's paths. Maybe one person goes to an office, something of that sort, right? I've talked to people about actually living in different locations than their woman. I don't think this is a terrible idea. I personally do not think living with a woman would be beneficial for one, my purpose, and two, our relationship. If I can have my own space and then at night when we want to see each other, we can see each other and it creates kind of like a date-like excitement, right? I think that's going to be way better. Again, I've done a lot of research on this. I haven't tested it myself, so I'm not going to, say this is what you have to do. Just giving you my opinion. But keep your friends around. Have good friends you trust, pushing you forward, that you see often, that kind of keep your masculine essence and don't burn you out from your woman. Right? And at the end of this book, the author finishes off with basically saying the goal of the masculine man is to be fully present in the moment, fully release himself to the now, right? Through loving connection with his partner, through fulfilling his purpose, right? And is this achievable? This is kind of saying this is enlightenment. That full presence in a lot of people's views is what enlightenment is. And I think the message is to be moving towards this as much as possible, right? You shouldn't have the goal of, I need to be present at all times in full lovingness. No, it should be constant pursuit of getting better towards that, right? Becoming a better lover while also becoming a better, more present purpose fulfiller or businessman. And with the principles of this book, if you felt like a lot of what I said was kind of like aha moment for you and like this was really useful for you, I highly recommend getting the book. I cover this much. The author is very good at using examples, going into detail, and really selling you on the ideas kind of. It's really an easy read. I probably recommend this more than any other book. Right next to the next one I'm reviewing, which is Untethered Soul. Subscribe if you want to see that. If I can give you one piece of advice, it would be to become the most competent, evolved, masculine, strong, confident version of yourself, right? Because all of these principles end up being natural to you when you do that, right? You can know all of these things, but if deep down you don't have the ability to be that for your woman, right? You don't have that internal strength and confidence, it's impossible, right? So this is a layer, a foundation, a necessary understanding after becoming that. Right? And so if you're at a stage where you don't feel fully confident in yourself, I would not even focus on finding that woman yet. I would focus fully on the method, which is what I coach, which is evolving physically, mentally, sexually, and spiritually, right? Getting full confidence in all those areas, wisdom, understanding in all of those areas. And then from there, you can create this loving bond and connection. And also from there, you will be able to fulfill your purpose. If you are a man without a purpose as well, that is also not a good sign to get into a relationship. Now, if you are already in a relationship, that is different, right? If you love the woman, you know, see a future with her, you guys can definitely evolve together, right? But if you haven't gotten in one yet, that is 100% the move. And if you are at the point where you are committed and seriously want to evolve, I can get you there, brother. I'll put a link in the description and the bio, right? You can go ahead and book a call with me. We'll discuss what's going on in your life right now, how the method and specifically I can help you along that journey. Otherwise, use all the resources on this channel. Keep evolving, brother. Let's have a great fucking year. And I almost forgot, we got 2 more of these book reviews coming out. So subscribe if you like this one, you want to see the next 2. Until next time.